What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. The Stormbringer talent tree was just released for Shaman, so I really just wanted to dive in and talk about it in a very quick video. This is like my first impressions of the tree. I'm very, very excited for Shaman in the War Within. This is probably something I'm going to be maining, getting back to Shaman, so we'll have to see. I'm really hoping that these trees are good, that they live up to the potential. Me in particular, I'm really hoping that this tree for Enhancement Shaman really emphasizes the Storm Strike build and the Storm build in general, which has been largely neglected for like this entire Dragonflight expansion, right? The Storm build has always been second fiddle, second place to the Lavalash build, to the Elementalist build with Frost Shock. So I want it to be good. So this is for Enhance and Ellie. Let's take a look at it and see what's going on. First of all, we get Tempest. So it says every 40 Maelstrom weapon stacks you spend is going to replace Lightning Bolt with Tempest, okay? So this is interesting right off the bat. Has a 2-second cast time. It replaces Lightning Bolt, has a 2.5-second cast time. So for Ellie, it's quicker right away, which is great. And then it's every 40 Maelstrom weapon stack spent or every 400 Maelstrom weapon stack spent. I have Enhance over here and Ellie over here. I just wanted to show you the distinction because it will matter. Every 400 Maelstrom, every 40 Maelstrom weapon stack. So that's every, like, for Enhancement Shaman, you build up to 10 stacks, then you use a spender. So you have to use 4 of those before you get this Tempest. So it's not that it won't happen quickly, like, especially once you start getting some gear on Enhancement Shaman, you can start hitting Storm Strikes, and they're going to proc other Storm Strikes, and you're going to get a lot of Maelstrom weapon stack generation really, really quickly. Every 4th spender, you get Tempest, okay? The numbers on it are high, okay? Lightning Bolt, for example, does 114% of spell damage. This thing does 180% of spell damage to one target, and then it does 180% spell power damage to all other enemy targets. And yes, there is no cap on this, so it's within 8 yards. So this is literally the first real uncapped AoE version of Shaman that we have, which is amazing. You could argue that like Fire Nova has basically uncapped AoE because of how many different times it can hit, but this is like truly, this is like the uncapped AoE, the beginnings of it, okay? So that's pretty encouraging, I would say, for most Shaman players, especially Enhancement Shaman players who are like, and Ellie, who like you're capped with your Flame Shocks and all that garbage, right? So that's interesting. I'm going to go down the middle, and then we're going to go down the sides, okay? Increases the critical strike chance of your nature damage spells by 10%, and the critical strike damage of your nature spells by 5%. So that's just like 10% more crit on Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Crash Lightning, Storm Strike. I believe if we read the, it just says spells. So I mean, it's gonna include any nature damage spell you have. So that's pretty incredible. For Enhancement Shaman, if you're doing the Storm build, you are primarily just pressing Storm Strike, Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning, like in AoE, right? Storm Strike, Crash Lightning, Lightning Bolt, like that's all you're pressing. So that's pretty strong, I would say. 10% more crit is cool. Might allow you to index into nature, into mastery, sorry, which you're going to do anyway, because mastery for Enhancement Shaman increases your nature damage done, and fire and frost, but this is just giving you 10% free crit, which is pretty cool. Or you could index all the way into crit for a Storm Strike type build, which is going to improve your physical damage dealt as well from your Storm Strikes. We'll have to see. When Tempest Strike only hits one target, gain 3 stacks of Maelstrom weapon. So a massive buff to Maelstrom weapon stack generation on a single target, which is where Enhancement Shaman struggles to generate Maelstrom weapon stacks. That's pretty great, right? On AoE, you press Crash Lightning and Storm Strike, and you've generated 7 stacks or almost 10 stacks of Maelstrom. Like, it's really crazy how quickly you can do that. So this is great for the Storm Strike build, the Storm build in particular. This is great for single target. For Ellie Shaman, this is also great for generating, it's extra Maelstrom, I think, right? Where is it? When Tempest Strike hits only a single target, you gain 30 Maelstrom. That's a lot. That's actually a lot. So again, you're not getting Tempest Strike that often, but we will be in a second. You're going to see this in a second, okay? So good generation there. The other choice note is Arc Discharge, which is probably what you're going to go with in AoE, I would say. When Tempest strikes more than one target, your next 3 Chain Lightning spells are instant cast and deal 75% increased damage. So for Enhancement Shaman, they're already instant cast with the Maelstrom weapon stacks that you're building up. So not necessarily that huge, but if you're running the Storm build, so I gotta go down here. Remember that your Chain Lightning has a chance to refund Maelstrom, okay? And your Chain Lightning damage is increased by 20%, and then you have a chance, you're obviously going to reset the cooldown of your Storm Strike with Legacy of the Frost Witch, right? Consuming 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon will reset the cooldown of Storm Strike, and that allows you to keep chaining more Storm Strikes, which will allow you to proc Deeply Rooted. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work. Like, when you use Arc Discharge, is it going to count as if you've spent Maelstrom weapon stacks? If it does, then it's going to potentially reset the cooldown of Storm Strike. If it doesn't, that's fine. This is just giving you extra damage, which is fine. It also, though, again, the bigger thing I think is that it has a chance to refund Maelstrom weapon stacks spent. So maybe like if you cast these free Chain Lightnings, it will have a chance to proc Static Accumulation, which could just refund you Maelstrom weapon stacks, and then you could cast a real Chain Lightning on your own and get another refund. Like, it might just chain one into the other into the other. So I think that this has the potential to be really, really strong on the AoE side of things. For Ellie Shaman, getting instant cast Chain Lightnings is pretty good for your mobility. The Lightning build for Ellie Shaman is not very mobile at all, right? The Fire build is, because you get Lava Surge procs, but for the Lightning build, you're not actually that mobile. So this is going to help mobility quite a bit, which is good. Okay, so that, I think Arc Discharge has the potential to be really, really good. Conductive Energy, gain the effects of the Lightning Rod talent. This is pretty crazy. This is an Elemental Shaman talent right down here, right? So your target becomes a Lightning Rod for 8 seconds. Lightning Rods take 20% of all damage you deal with Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. That is crazy, right? So now Enhancement Shaman can get Lightning Rod, which is pretty cool because in this build, you're only going to be spending your Maelstrom weapon stacks on Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt. Imagine a Primordial Waved Lightning Bolt that goes out and hits 5 targets and does a lot of damage. That Lightning Bolt does really, really high amounts of damage, right? And then all of that Lightning Bolt damage that you just did is going to go into your Lightning Rod. 20% of all damage dealt with Lightning Bolt will go into the Lightning Rod target. So that's pretty cool. So again, it's Tempest and Earthshock, Ellie Blast, Earthquake, of course, is the base talent that Ellie gets. But now Enhancement Shaman can get it through Tempest. So it's only Tempest that's going to proc this for you, but that's kind of cool. Okay. And again, every 4 spenders, you're going to get Tempest. But for this capstone node, we're about to read it, you're going to get it more often. Let's look at the capstone. Awakening Storms. Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, and Chain Lightning have a chance to strike your target for 50% more spell power and nature damage. Every 3 times this happens, your next Lightning Bolt is replaced with Tempest. So this is crazy, especially for Enhancement Shaman, in my opinion, for the Storm build. Storm Strike with Legacy of the Frost Witch is incredibly spammable. Like, over the course of a dungeon run, I will press Storm Strike 400 to 500 times. Not to mention, when you proc Deeply Rooted and you get the Thorum's Invocation buff, you press Wind Strike, which counts as Storm Strike. I'm assuming it's going to work this way. You press Storm Strike, and it automatically will cast your Chain Lightning or your Lightning Bolt for you, which means you're going to be potentially double dipping on proccing your Awakened Storms, because it's Storm Strike, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning. So for Enhancement Shaman, you proc Deeply Rooted, and you're in your Ascendance form, you're slamming Storm Strike. It could proc Awakening Storms. You're getting Chain Lightnings going out for free, blasting your enemies. That could proc Awakening Storms. You could be getting Tempest procs like crazy, like a lot of them, I think, which makes all the other talents that we've read actually really, really huge. Because again, like this, you get the Lightning Rod from the Tempest. You get the critical strike chance. Oh, that's for free. Never mind. When you get Tempest strikes, when it hits more than one target, you're going to get those 3 Chain Lightnings doing more damage. So imagine, like, you build up 4 spenders, 40, you get 40 mils from weapon stacks. Your next Lightning Bolt is going to do Tempest. You press that Lightning Bolt, it gives you the Tempest proc. your next 3 chain lightnings do a bunch of extra damage, and then you get a deeply rooted proc, and then you're spamming your spells and you get another Tempest proc. It's going to reset these 3 chain lightnings again. Like, your chain lightnings are going to be doing a ton of extra damage, okay? With the Storm build for Enhancement Shaman especially, your chain lightning is already doing 20% more damage with Thorm's Invocation, and it has that chance to refund Maelstrom. So the synergies here are actually really, really good for Enhancement Shaman with the Storm Strike build, in my opinion. For Ellie, again, extra chain lightning damage is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's great. And getting instant chain lightnings, they're going to build Maelstrom for you. They're probably the biggest way, the fastest way that you build Maelstrom outside of the fire build for Ellie Shaman is just pressing chain lightning. So this is really good for them as well. This Awakened Storms thing, I think, is going to be much more powerful than we think. You know, they're saying here approximately 5 procs per minute. Again, I don't think that's necessarily accounting for a deeply rooted proc, which allows you to spam Storm Strike, and it's going to cast Chain Lightning for you. So 5 procs per minute is awesome. That's every about 15 seconds, 15, 34, 5, 6. No, that's like every 12 seconds or so, you're going to get a proc on this. So that's great. That's a really good amount if that number is true. Let's go down the left side here. Spending Maelstrom weapon stacks grants you 3% haste for 15 seconds stacking. Gaining a new stack does not refresh. So this is like a mongoose bite window, okay? As soon as you use 1 spender, you start the window, the 15-second window. And then you're going to keep using as many spenders as possible, and it's going to give you 3% haste. I'm assuming it only gives you 3% haste for like using 1 lightning bolt or chain lightning, basically, okay? I don't think it's going to be like each Maelstrom weapon stack gives you 3%, because that would be like 30% more haste forever. You would just have Bloodlust all the time. That seems overpowered to me. I'm going to assume you get 3% haste per spender that you use. But imagine, once again, if you get a deeply rooted proc for Enhancement Shaman, you're pressing those Storm Strikes, you're casting those Chain Lightnings for free, back to back to back. You can get 3 or 4 Chain Lightnings in a row, and that would give you 3, 6, 9, 12% haste. Like, it could build up really quickly. So this, I think, is going to be strong, even if it doesn't give you, 30% haste, which is disgusting. Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 35% chance to refund 3 Maelstrom weapon stacks, or for Ellie Shaman, Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning elemental overloads have a 50% chance to cause an additional overload, which is great. That will generate more Maelstrom for you, right? And if you talent into all the overload stuff here, you can increase the damage of your overload abilities, which is really, really good. And then, of course, you can have Lightning Rod going. So those overloaded Lightning Bolts are going to funnel into Lightning Rod as well. So there's some really, really good synergy here for this talent. And again, getting refunds on Maelstrom weapon stacks is going to allow you to get back to your next Tempest more quickly, right? As much resource generation as you can possibly get is going to allow you to get back to your next Tempest more quickly. That's going to allow you to just make this whole talent tree keep working. So this is a very good talent as well. Supercharge is awesome. 35% chance to refund is awesome, because you already get a 20% chance to refund for Enhancement Shaman if you're running the Storm build. So that's kind of nuts. That's basically like a 55. I don't know if they add together. Let's just say you basically have a 55% chance to refund not all the Maelstrom weapon stacks that you spent, but at least 3 of them. So your resource generation could just be crazy for Enhance, which is really good. Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning, Earthquake damage up by 15%. I hate these talents. They're really lame, but whatever. It is what it is. It's here. Again, Chain Lightning damage is going to be really crazy. Like 75% more Chain Lightning damage for the next 3 Chain Lightnings that you do after Tempest Strike, and then another 15% on top. Like, that's 90% more Chain Lightning damage. That's crazy. And depending how often you can proc Tempest Strikes, you're just going to have, I think, an insane amount of uptime on this thing. So we'll have to see how that goes. Shocking Grasp. Your nature damage critical strikes reduce the target's movement speed by 50%. This is a really large movement speed reduction, and I think if you think about some of the affixes in PvE, this is obviously like straight up you think PvP talent, that's fair. But this is all about crit. You're doing lots of crits. Of course, you get the synergy right here, getting extra crits. But imagine if you hit a Crash Lightning and it crits and it hits a bunch of Spitefuls that have just started spawning because you killed the lower health minions or whatever, right? You can dramatically reduce the Spiteful's movement speed. And that is the worst part about Spiteful, in my opinion, is that they move really quickly. They move as fast as you do, if not faster. So sometimes you can't get away from them. So the ranged guys are constantly like running away, trying to continue to do damage while running away. It's just a nightmare. It's really dumb. So this actually might really benefit you on a spiteful week in particular. Or if there's mobs, like think about right now in Brackenhide Hallow, how the gnolls like run away when they get low on health. Imagine if they had 50% less movement speed. There's obviously other ways to reduce the movement speed of enemies, but getting it for free from your crits is actually very powerful. Tempest summons a nature feral spirit for until canceled. So I saw Max on stream doing this, and it functions exactly the same way that the tier set bonus for enhancement shaman summoned an additional nature wolf when we had that the one that we have right now, the Primordial Wave one. So again, the nature wolf is going to buff your nature damage by 20%. So another 20% multiplier on top of the 75% for chain lightning and the 15% for chain lightning, crash lightning that we're already getting. So like crazy multipliers on multipliers on multipliers. And again, if we're proccing Tempest a lot, because we get a DRE proc, right? And then we're just slamming Storm Strike, slamming chain lightnings, you might get a lot of Tempest procs. This wolf could be up quite a bit, actually. And from what I saw on Max's stream, the wolf lasted for about 8 seconds or so, I thought. For until canceled is not a real thing. He lasted for about 8 to 10 seconds, which is good. On the Ellie side of things, it's different. You gain 1 stack of Stormkeeper every 50 seconds, which is pretty strong. Of course, this build now is all about doing nature damage. So you might want to take 1 charge of Stormkeeper and then come down here and get, I don't know if you want to do Echoes of the Great Sundering, but let's pretend that, I don't know, maybe you go Eye of the Storm into Elemental Equilibrium, and then you get Lightning Rod. Instead of the 2nd charge of Stormkeeper, get Lightning Rod, because you're going to get this extra stack of Stormkeeper every 50 seconds, which is exactly what the Season 2 tier set was, I think, right now for Ellie. So there you go. You kind of get a tier set bonus just baked right in. So that's pretty cool. And it might change your talents a little bit depending on what you want to do for Ellie there. Let's get to this last one. This is the last choice node. Nature's Protection. Targets struck by your Tempest deal 10% less damage to you for 6 seconds. This sounds really terrible at first glance, and you really were, I think we were all hoping for Shaman to get better defensive tools. But as I was saying, if you're able, on the enhancement Shaman side of things, I think you're going to be able to proc Tempest a lot. I think for Ellie Shaman, it's going to be more difficult because you don't have the deeply rooted elements proc for Ellie Shaman is a fire build thing, not a lightning build thing. Whereas for Enhance, proccing DRE is going to proc Tempest a lot more often than it will for Ellie. So I think you're going to have Tempest up a lot as an enhancement shaman, and therefore you'll have 10% DR like a lot. I think maybe 50% of the time you might have this up, which is massive if that's true. Having 10% DR like half the time is really, really good. Now, I think I would have preferred something a little bit better on the defensive side, but this is not bad. It depends how often we can proc Tempest. The other side of it is Surging Currents. After using Tempest, your next Chain Heal or Healing Surge will be instant cast and consume no mana. This like actually potentially has a lot of off healing upside, but it's kind of garbage, right? This is not very good. We already have a lot of self healing. Our mana bar is massive now. They buffed, you know, DPS mana bars to be about 250,000 mana now instead of like 50,000 mana. So you can cast a lot of healing spells already. So this is not something that we're probably going to use. I think Nature's Protection is likely going to be the better one. So what are my overall thoughts and first impressions here? I think that this tree is very good for Enhancement Shaman and might be good for Ellie Shaman, but feels a little bit weaker to me because primarily of the combo with deeply rooted elements that Ellie Shaman, Enhancement Shaman already has. Sorry, you've got Static Accumulation giving you refunds on your Maelstrom. You're going to generate Maelstrom weapon stacks when you're in Ascendance. You get extra Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt damage for free from Thorin's Invocation. Ellie doesn't get any of that, right? You're going to get things like Lightning Rod or another Stormkeeper. So the fact that I think you could proc Tempest a lot more often on Enhancement Shaman is why I think this will probably be the better tree for Enhancement Shaman. And the Tempest ability itself looks really strong. It does a lot of upfront single target damage. It does have an AoE proc that is uncapped AoE. Uncapped AoE, everybody ring the bells. We finally got it, okay? That's going to be really cool. So potentially this could be the best AoE build for Enhancement Shaman going into the War Within. We're going to have to see how the totemic tree works out for enhancement shaman, because that's the other side that they can get, and we don't have that tree yet. That's probably going to be more like a fire-based build that's going to focus on lava lash and like creating searing totems, stuff like that. But right now, this looks like a really big uncapped AoE, deeply rooted elements build that could really slap, and I'm excited. I would love to get on the alpha. I don't have alpha access yet, but we'll see. We'll see how this kind of goes. I'm happy with it. At a very first glance, my first impressions of it are that I think it looks good for enhance. I think it looks okay for Ellie. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, please. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Stormbringer Shaman hero talent trees. Yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if I missed something too. This is just my first impression. I might have missed something really critical in here, like a synergy that works well together. Let me know what you guys have found in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you all. I will continue to cover more of the War Within. I'll see you in the next one.